Hey guys, today we're going to be doing something called blood flow restriction training. Sounds super crazy, sounds dangerous, but it's completely safe, and I'm going to show you how to do it with it being cost effective. Just as a quick background, blood flow restriction training was created many decades ago. It actually originated out of Japan. Something called Katsu training, if you might have heard of that, where basically they put these cuffs around your limbs, whether it be your legs or your upper body, and it literally restricts the amount of blood that's flowing back from the external part of the limb, right? And you're like, wow, that sounds super dangerous. But what it's doing is you still have blood flowing. It's not completely occluding the artery. And you might have heard of this called occlusion training. You're not occluding the entire artery, right? That would be dangerous. But instead what you're doing is you're restricting the blood flow. Now, why would you ever want to do this? Well, this is great for recovery, and it's great for when you're not ready or you're not able to do high loads, i.e. injury, whether you're fatigued and you just did a hard training session and you want to do something lighter. It's better for light loads. So with typical blood flow restriction training, you're going to be training at anywhere from 30 to 50% of your one repetition maximum. So what that means is if the heaviest you can do for one rep is 100 pounds, you're going to be doing like 30 to 40 pounds. And that sounds super light. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing 30 repetitions with 30 seconds rest, followed by 15 repetitions, each with 30 seconds rest in between. And what this does is it creates so much metabolic stress inside of the muscle. It accumulates something known as blood lactate. It accumulates a lot of blood inside of that area, so it triggers this process known as cell swelling, which can allow you to grow your muscle without having to pack on a heavy load. And so when I first started doing research, this was one of the first projects I ever did my freshman year of college, because I was super interested in this being an athlete. I was super interested in it for my parents, because as much as I want my dad or my mom to go squat heavy weight, they're not going to do it, right? So how can they still maybe even just do body weight squats, but still get the benefits or still get the muscle growth or what we call hypertrophy as they would get lifting a heavier load? That's where blood flow restriction training comes into play. And so something myself and Dr. Jacob Wilson looked at was something called practical blood flow restriction training. Because if you want the cuffs of the blood flow restriction training that you typically saw in Japan, it's like a couple $1,000s to get this. Is that very practical for everyone who's trying to do this at home? Not really, right? So we looked at something called practical blood flow restriction training. If you don't know, these are just traditional knee bands that you can get on Amazon for maybe 10 bucks, and you can still get the same benefit. And so my first study ever as a researcher was looking at the effects of practical blood flow restriction training on muscle growth. And so today we're going to be doing legs, and I'm going to show you what blood flow restriction looks like. So you take this band, this knee wrap, and you get real up close and personal. You're going to be really up there. That's why I like to wear these. I roll them up and then I put my shorts over the top. Otherwise, you're going to be very exposed. But you have to get it as close to your groin if you're doing legs as humanly possible. And then if you're doing arms, you might want to use a smaller band. They make smaller bands that aren't knee wraps. You want to get it as close as possible to the shoulder as well. So today we're going to be doing legs. I'm going to be wrapping it real close to the upper groin, and I'll show you that in a minute. But we're going to be wrapping it at a pressure of 7 out of 10. Meaning if 10 would be me like completely, if 10 would be me completely occluding the artery, like as tight as I could humanly wrap this, right? Like we wouldn't want that, because that is complete occlusion and that could cause damage and could cause complications, right? That wouldn't be good. We're looking for a perceived pressure of 7 out of 10. So you want it to be snug, but you don't want it to be to a point where like before you even start the exercise bout, it feels like you have zero circulation. So anywhere from 6 to 7 out of 10 is what you want. And again, you're gonna be doing 30, 15 repetitions with 30 seconds in between. It's meant to go fast. It's meant to pool a lot of blood and cause a lot of blood lactate to pool up inside of that muscle, and it'll trigger growth without having to go super heavy. So here we go. Ah. Burning just doesn't go away. Take a breathe now. Oh, you can see it, dude, just swell.